You ever see a brand new, top of the line truck roll by and just think, wow, that person's got to be doing well for themselves? Yeah, we all do. But what if that huge symbol of success is actually a financial trap? Let's dive in and uncover the brutal, hidden cost of that shiny new truck. The reality behind all that gleaming chrome and polished paint? Well, it might look a little more like this. The person behind the wheel is very likely sacrificing basic stuff, like a real meal, just to keep up with the cost of that ride. It's a pretty stark image, isn't it? So that's the big question we're going to tackle. How does a purchase that screams financial strength so often lead to a reality of, well, financial misery? The answer is a mix of some cold hard numbers and some really fascinating psychology. Let's break it all down. All right, first, let's talk about the illusion itself. It's a powerful one for sure, and it's the number one reason so many people willingly drive right into this financial mess. You know, in our culture, a big new truck is way more than just a vehicle. It's a statement piece. We automatically project our own ideas of success, of rugged independence, of financial power, right onto the owner. It's like an instant symbol that you've made it. But what if that symbol is built on a foundation of crushing debt? Okay, so if that's the perception, what's the reality? This is where we leave that illusion in the rearview mirror and get into the numbers. It's time for the real cost breakdown. And listen, we're not just talking about the sticker price. That's just the tip of the iceberg. We're talking about the total cost of ownership over a standard 7-year loan. This is the number that truly matters, and it's the one most people never even think to calculate before they sign on that dotted line. It starts right here, an average monthly payment of around $800. I mean, for most people, that alone is a huge chunk of their income. It's basically a second rent or mortgage payment. But believe it or not, this is just where the pain begins. Next, you gotta insure it. And a new, expensive vehicle like this, it comes with a hefty insurance premium. We're looking at an average of $250 a month, just piled right on top of that $800 payment. So what's that? We're already over $1,000 a month. And of course, you have to put gas in these things. They are not exactly famous for their fuel efficiency. An average month of driving can easily tack on another $350. It's just this constant financial drain every single time you visit the pump. So, let's recap. We've got the payment, we've got the insurance, we've got the fuel. But there's one more big, often totally forgotten factor: maintenance. I mean, over 7 years, you're going to need new tires, brakes, oil changes. It all adds up. So let's put it all together and see the full, terrifying picture. And here is where it gets truly shocking. That $800 monthly payment, over 7 years, that's more than $67,000. Then you add $21,000 for insurance, almost $30,000 in fuel, and another $15,000 for maintenance. When you look at the grand total, it's absolutely staggering. Over $130,000. You heard that right. For a vehicle that had a $70,000 sticker price, you end up paying nearly double that just to own it for 7 years. That is the true price of this symbol of success. And this chart just brilliantly illustrates the financial devastation. You pour over $130,000 into this asset, and at the end of those 7 years, what are you left with? A used truck that's worth maybe $15,000 if you're lucky? You've effectively lit more than $115,000 on fire. So this brings us to the most important question of all. Why? Why would anyone do this? The numbers are crystal clear. And this is where we have to shift from finance to psychology and explore a concept called Automotive Stockholm Syndrome. It's the only logical question to ask, right? If you saw these numbers laid out beforehand, you'd probably run screaming in the other direction. But here's the thing. Decisions like this are rarely about logic. They're almost always deeply emotional. So here's the definition. It's a psychological trap where you form an emotional bond with the very thing that is causing your financial harm. You start to defend it, to rationalize the insane cost, because your ego and your whole identity have become completely tied up in it. So here's how it works. First, the truck just becomes part of who you are. It's your identity. Second, because you've sunk so much money into it, you have to defend that purchase to protect your ego. And finally, you start prioritizing the status that truck gives you over your actual financial future. Things like saving for a house or, heaven forbid, retirement. So, what's the big takeaway from all of this? How can we avoid making this six-figure mistake ourselves? Well, it really comes down to fundamentally rethinking our relationship with the things we buy. The most crucial point is this: you have to learn to separate what an object represents from what it actually is. A truck is a tool, a fancy watch is a timepiece. The key is to calculate the total cost, not just in dollars, but in freedom, in stress, in lost opportunities, and then ask yourself if its real-world usefulness is actually worth that price. And that leaves us with one final and maybe a little uncomfortable question. Because this isn't just about trucks. It could be a boat, an expensive degree, a house in the wrong neighborhood, any major purchase that's driven more by status than by substance. So take a second and ask yourself, what is your $130,000 mistake?